One of the most fun things about tying flies is that we're never going to run out of patterns to tie. If I only tied the flies that I fished, I'd be limiting myself to just a few dozen. I'd probably get tired of those pretty quickly. So one of the fun things I like to do is just flip through my books, maybe look through some patterns online and see something I've never tied and say, that looks fun, I'm going to do it. Hello everybody, welcome to Savage Flies. I'm Matt, thank you for stopping by. So the pattern I'm talking about today, I got from Claude Chartrand's 1987, The Art of Fly Tying. I haven't tied out of this book in a while, but it's really a pretty cool book. So I was flipping through it, I saw this pattern called the Spitfire, and I said, that looks really fun, I'm tying it. So I did some quick research, found out it was created by Don Gapen in 1943. Now, we've talked about Don Gapen before. He came up with the muddler minnow. We mentioned him when we tied the Thief just a few weeks ago. But other than that, and this one ad in a 1949 Field and Stream that mentions the Spitfire, I couldn't find a whole lot more on this. And kind of interesting, the ad says this fly took first place in the brook trout division in 1943 and 47 and 48. What that means, I have no idea, but it must have been pretty good and maybe a popular fly back in the 40s. But since then, I can't help but think that this is probably a largely forgotten fly. I couldn't find it in any books other than Chartrand's book right here. And I didn't find a whole lot of other information out there on it. But I think it's a pretty cool looking pattern. And granted, I'm changing it a little bit. The original had just a natural Guinea for the front collar hackle, and I'm tying it with a red. It is called a Spitfire, and I think the red just really complemented the red tail well, and I think it's going to be a pretty effective fly for the brook trout here in the mid-Atlantic. So it's a pretty easy pattern. It's fun to tie. I think you're going to like it. Let's give it a shot. So there it is in the vise, Don Gapen's Spitfire. Sizes for this guy are 6 to 12, so you can tie this pretty big. I'm tying it on a size 10. I'm more a trout fisherman than a freshwater bass type fisherman. So that's a wet fly hook, 1X long barbless, and I'm going to use black 70 denier thread. I'll lay a base all the way to the start of the bend. Now the tail, just a slip of red duck or goose, and it's pretty substantial, fairly long here. So, well, I've only seen 2 pictures of it, and one of them had a pretty long tail. So I like that. I'm going to go with the long tail. Try to just catch this right on top, couple of wraps, and then spinning a little bit. Let's try to get it upright before we really lock it in. Okay, I think that's fine right there. And you could wrap the front of that tail in, just let it be your underbody, but I'm not. I'm going to go ahead and trim it. And you don't have to worry about too much of a lump here because we've got a chenille body. But before we tie that in, let's tie in the brown hen that we're going to palmer up it. This is a medium, a light brown. You can see the feather I got for the size I want has a little bit of white next to the stem. That's going to be okay. I'd probably prefer it to be all brown, but this is going to work. So let's take the thread right back here. I caught my little V-notch right there, and that's going to work. So a couple of lock-in wraps right here. Now we'll snip off this tip and tie in the chenille. And this one, it's a black, and this is a small. So a small chenille. If you don't have a small black chenille, I would probably go with just a black floss instead of, stepping it up to a medium chenille. That might make your body just a little bit bulkier than you'd want. So let's go ahead and take our thread back up front. Should I worry about those little things sticking off the bottom? Yeah, because they're kind of long and they might stick out between my chenille, so I'm going to go ahead and trim them. Okay, we're fine right there. Now just wrap your body. Don't worry if it's a little thicker in the back. It's probably not going to be noticed at the end, but take it all the way up front and catch it off. Okay, let's snip this excess off right there. Now we're going to palmer this up. And now here's where you have an option. How thick do you want it to be hackled? I mean, it's not a woolly bugger. So put these wraps as close as you want or as far as you want. And I'm gonna just try to preen them back. We'll brush them back in the end when we're done. And after you've done a couple, you might find what your preference is for how close to put these wraps together. I think that's plenty right there. So 2 wraps to catch that off. And I'm going to pull it back a little bit, throw a couple extra wraps to really lock this in. Now I can just kind of pull them back right here. So I do want them swept back a little bit, but they're going to push back the Guinea, the next piece. So just a Guinea fowl feather, and the fibers on these guys are huge. They're long, even from the tips, they're very long. And I'm using a dyed red and black Guinea. If you don't have this, use a natural. Natural looks great, but this is a Spitfire, and I thought the red looked kind of cool. So I'm gonna catch it in, I'm gonna create another little V right here, and then just catch this in. Now this feather is not brittle. It's very pliable, but also we're catching it in so close to the tip that it's not really that strong, so do be careful with it. Go ahead and snip this tip right here off. Now we're going to wrap it. Probably 3, maybe 4 wraps, and you see how long these fibers are. It's going to give us that really long, swept back, pretty cool look. So I'm going to just try to preen these back as I wrap. And don't worry if they don't behave, because we'll get them swept back when we do our head. Now I've already forgotten how many wraps that is. I'm gonna try one more. And if I end up with too many, I can trim some. So just pull these, make sure we don't mat them down too much. Maybe I shouldn't take this one all the way around, catch it off on the underside right here. Yeah, that'll work. So a couple of wraps to lock this in, and let's trim this excess. It's pretty bushy looking right there, but wait, in 1 minute this thing's going to be pretty cool looking. Okay, now just pull these back. This is what gives it the swept back soft hackle look, and it's what I think is the coolest aspect of this fly. So we're going to ramp this back, kind of lay these down and build our head. And you can build a big head if you want. I've got a couple of fibers sticking out right there, but I'm not going to worry about them. I'm just going to finish my head. And there we go, ready for the whip finish. We might have a little bit of cleanup. We'll take a look at it in just a second here. 4 turns will work. If you're going to put a drop of head cement on it, which I'm going to for this one. And we want to clean it up. If you end up with your hackle being just too many fibers, the best thing for that is just to grab each of them and then, you know, just kind of pull them out, pluck them out until you get the fiber density you want. But I kind of like this. I like it, the look of it. It's called a Spitfire. I like the red and black on that front collared hackle. So that's it, my friends. I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.